All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Does anybody else have any red cards before we get started? Okay, all right, then we'll get rolling here. Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alicia, you want to do roll call, please?
Steve Bigelow.
Here.
Ian McDonald. Lori Blargen.
Here.
Lacey Oster. Here. Bruce Blargen.
Here.
Danny Erickson.
Here.
Matt Pucall.
Here. Okay, our district mission: together we educate, engage, and empower all learners, bridging their passions through pathways to create a successful future and positively contribute to our local and global communities. I'd like to, if anybody has a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment of switching 11 and 12 for approving the items for approval before consenting the agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I recommend taking the advisory committee off the agenda tonight. Make a motion to do that.
Motion to remove item 10.
So I'll change that motion or amend that motion to take off item 10 and then switch items for approval as 10 and consent agenda as 11.
And I'll second.
Any further? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, we'll get started with Spartan Spotlight. Okay.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. So our Spartan Spotlight for this month, we wanted to recognize our high school building and construction class, which is taught by Ryan Herring. Unfortunately, Mr. Herring and students weren't able to make it tonight with it kind of being a long extended weekend. People out of town, different things going on, but wanted to still be able to recognize them tonight, the students that are in that class. So I've got their names. I'm going to share that. If they were here, we'd be introducing them themselves here. Cooper Dawson, Aiden Emmett, both sophomores. Carson Belil, Carter Bigley, Blake Fox, Mason Sutherland, and then Trenton Boyer, Kelvin Julson, Cooper Kuhn, Kane McCusick, Connor Schutte, Broden Thiel, Jonah Verhoef, and John Warren. So this group has been very active early on in the school year already. A while back, one thing that we had posted on our social media and our website was the bear-proof bird feeder. Try and say that 10 times fast without getting tripped up. That they made for a community member that had contacted them for that particular project. I don't have all of them off the top of my head right now, but I know other community members have contacted Mr. Herring to help with various projects that they then work through in their building construction class. But kind of the reason that we wanted to highlight them here tonight was, as you may have came in here this evening, you would notice that the soccer field has new dugouts, or benches as they call them in soccer, and that group actually helped put those up. The ones that we had previously were in rough shape. There were some issues with foundation, so they helped through donors that helped with the cost of the materials to actually put those in place for us. And then down at Larry Forest Park at the baseball dugouts, they did some work down there on some of the projects. So we wanted to highlight and commend them for their efforts that they put in early this school year.
That's awesome. I talked to Mr. Herring about it last week. That's great. All right. Thanks, Trent. The next item, public public comment. So there was some updated language that was presented. The policy committee, I think, went through, I don't know, Lori or Danny or Ian, if you guys talked about it at the meeting. Maybe just, you guys can start or take your take on it, or your thoughts. Updated public comment.
It was discussed at our last board meeting, and the policy committee met after that. We also met, and our Neola representative was there. We proposed this language, and we asked Ms. Donnelly to run it by our attorney to make sure that it was legally acceptable. And we, I believe, all received the email that said that it is. And as we were discussing it, we talked about how we purposely did not want to put it in as a numbered item under L. We didn't want to put that on one person. We felt it should be an entire board decision. And the way we talked about how it would transpire is if a situation arose where you, the presiding officer, had to cut someone off, then if this had been something that was a recurring problem with the same person, that at the next board meeting, it could be put on the agenda, the entire board could discuss it, and make a decision as an entire board. Please note that there is no set time there. It just says up to 1 year. It certainly doesn't mean that it would have to be 1 year. That would be a board decision.
When was that email sent? Can you find it?
Oh, look.
Yeah, I didn't give it either.
Oh, maybe it only went to the policy committee.
Can you read the language specifically?
It's
From
attached
the
to
attorney?
It's attached to the agenda.
Are you talking about
It's the
from the
blue,
attorney?
yeah, it's the blue language. It's item M. Steve, that link.
Is there anything more in the email though than just, I see the policy and update, but is there more in the email?
I'm gonna have to find it,
Can you read the email?
if I can find it.
So, I'm,
It could be a slippery slope. It all depends on if that gets put into policy, the current board members that are on the board, that would apply it.
What could be a solution?
Just having that type of language in there with, during the listening session, the comment was brought up that some of the public comment policy is vague. So if you tie vague together with, some type of punishment, that
Oh,
could be
yeah.
opening up a can of worms.
yeah, I think we need to look into it more. I think we need to look into even this item so that people can say things that,
If we do at some point have that language, we have to go back and spell everything out crystal clear in the policy.
yeah.
Public comment policy.
So what specifically are we limiting?
Nothing right now.
Well, no, but I mean, this proposes that we would limit somebody's free speech. If you have public comment, how can you limit somebody's free speech?
If they violate one of the items listed.
Like what?
Bruce, you were on that email, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to send it to Steve, Lacey, and Matt.
So, Bruce, is there anything in particular that you think would be a violation?
That's why I think we need to look more into it. I mean, anything abusive, obscene, or irrelevant, personally directed. Too lengthy, I mean, it's item 1, I guess, But I think there needs to be more looked into if we're going to put a punishment, like Danny said, into it. I'm not ready to do that at this time, because
Okay, I sent it to you just now.
I know this board is always worried about lawsuits. It's been brought up many times, so are you concerned that there could be a First Amendment lawsuit? Is that a possibility?
Based on what we received from Trevor, I was not.
Well, Trevor doesn't always give the best advice.
He's our district's legal counsel, and I trust his recommendation.
I guess, does anybody want to make a motion to move forward on this updated language, or do we send this back to policy committee to try to clarify, you know, even items in L1 with this personally directed? I mean, if we're running into some issues with, like, was brought up in the listening session, I think we need clarity on what is personally directed, you know, positive or negative, or what people feel is positive or negative, to be clear that we're not setting us up for something later or shutting someone down. So I think it should, I'm not in support of doing anything with it right now, making any update to it.
But just for a distinction, you're bringing up positive or negative comments. What's the difference?
Exactly, yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, you just have to look at the Constitution,
So-
First Amendment.
I've written down that you'd like the policy committee to do some more work with Neola on what exactly personally directed means, so we can have more specific guidelines in our policy.
I mean, I'm just trying to throw some, I don't want to limit somebody's First Amendment rights. I don't want to limit what's okay to say and not okay to say. I want it very clear so that we don't have to interpret up here all the time if someone crossed the line or not.
Yep.
But I think it is, maybe it's not, I don't know, so.
I wasn't in favor of even
Yeah.
looking at it, changing it to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I think there's too many questions in here. So I don't see any need to send it back to policy committee. I don't think it needs to be changed at this point. The only thing I was in favor of was exploring the idea of just getting rid of public comment altogether if we ever got to that point. I'm not there tonight, but that's all. I don't think any changes to this are necessary.
Okay.
So you don't need further clarification on what personally directed means?
I don't, no, and I think there's other questions, you know, interruptions. Is it 1, is it 2, is it 10? Like, I think if you started to pick through this, there's way too many things that we would have to identify in order to enforce it, and I don't see that necessary right now. I think as it stands, it's fine.
Well, it did come up in the listening session, questions about it, so, you know, perhaps we should look into it.
I disagree. I don't think we need to look at it at all. I think we need to kick it to the curb.
Can we further listen to what was presented at the listening session? Since there seems to be some ties to that. I would be interested to hear what the concerns were.
Do you want to do that now, Bruce, or do you want
Hey,
to close this up first?
Yeah, we can do it in the listening session. Let's just leave this as is, and if we want to bring it back, we can do it. Yeah, I don't need to make any motion. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, we'll leave it as is. Item 4, so public comment. So I would like, we have more comments than the 20 minutes. 1, 2. So, does anyone make a motion to increase public comment?
I'll make the motion to increase the time of public comment so that each one can be addressed.
Second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, so everyone's aware there is a public comment. It's been linked to the agenda. So everyone can be able to see the public comment, what's in public comment, what's acceptable language and not acceptable, who to direct your comments to. Please announce your name, address, and what you will be speaking on. Comments shall be directed to the board and not staff or other participants. Participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. And then all statements should be directed to the presiding officer. And no person may address or question board members individually. So, our first comment, Allison Carrico.
Allison Carrico, 1730, 111th Street, in Richmond. I'm here to address the declining enrollment numbers, but first I'd like to acknowledge those affected in the class of 2027. You really did fall from heaven, and to whomever censored the phrase, the class of 2027 fell from heaven, shame on you. Records show in just the last month alone, our district has lost one junior kindergartner, 3 kindergartners, 1 third grader, 1 7th grader, 2 8th graders, and 1 9th grader. 9 students. That's a rate of over 2 per week. How many of those families have been surveyed or interviewed to why they choose to leave the district? Their story matters and deserves to be heard. So we opened the conversation and the stories flooded in. People crave to be heard, to tell their story, and I encourage others to come forward and tell your story as well. Off the record, as 12 other families has chosen to do so, such as family 1 with 3 children previously in the district, 1 expelled for its first offense that the new school district reports never hearing an expulsion without prior warning. Family number 2 had 2 children in the district. 1 was subjected to repeat bullying, including racial bullying, such as family number 6 and family number 5, and my very own child who was subjected to racial bullying. My second child, the second child from family number 2, left the district entirely due to retaliation in sports, which again, my own children have all 3 been subjected to in the last 4 years, as well as family number 4, whose second child was also retaliated against in sports, and the first child in family number 4 left due to severe bullying that resulted in a police report, such as family number 3, who also left after filing a police report that was never addressed by the district. Family number 5 left years ago because her child was perceived as a bad kid for not complying with her face diaper. Family number 7 was subjected to repeat bullying from both students and staff. Family number 9 left due to retaliation. Family number 8 I have yet to interview, as well as the recent family number 12, which may be the most heartbreaking interview to date. And family number 11 is my family, which on October 3rd of last year, I was here under the instruction of my attorney to make a public press release on one disturbing issue and to demand cease and
30
desist
seconds.
of retaliation against my 3 children. Fear is never what I speak, nor is misinformation. I have every receipt, as does my attorney, and the stories keep flooding in. I will keep speaking their truths. God bless you all.
Corey.
Corey Miller, 100th Street. Thanks for the conversation about public comment and for tabling it for now. It's a good start. I think the root cause and main solution that we can all hopefully relate to is just the degree of dialogue that happens on the board. And Danny and Steve have brought a lot to that, I think, just more details and helping those of us who aren't in school and just concerned parents and community members have a deeper understanding of what's going on, how the soup's made, how does this school work, you know, and my personal experience in the last 4 years and 3 kids in the district, my wife and I have tried to be as involved and supportive. We love all the teachers that our kids have had, and it was a radical time when we got in with COVID, so there was a lot of, you know, questions and challenges, and our mere asking questions and trying to have conversations resulted in shaming, mockery. We ORR'd mockery from staff. Nothing was done about it. You know, we had a really rough start to the district. We've tried our best to stay positive, have all our interactions with staff be positive. It resulted in a recall because we felt that there was no other option. I was part of that, and we were kind of hit the reset button. We thought, all right, let's, you know, we got new board members now. We hope there's more constructive conversation like we saw tonight. And we've kind of just stood back for the last year or so and kind of just let things evolve. And some progress, but not enough, just by my objective observations. So we've continued to email, and in my door knocking, it's the best experience because our community is awesome. And well over 50%, I'd say well over 70% of the random doors that I've knocked on have know my name because of Facebook, but it's been positive feedback. And so the select extremely negative feedback that my family has gotten seems to be very isolated to a certain core group of the school. And that is what we're really going after here, is to let's work together to address that, and I hope you hear that it's a legitimate. We've been delegitimized again and again and again, and I don't know how you can not take that last board meeting and the very coordinated public comment as directed right at a few parents like me. And it's not just a few, there is a massive amount of us. And thank you, Allison. Yes, other parents reach out. There's been many parents reaching out. I had a parent reach out saying, we bought land, we're gonna build, we got kids. And I said, hang in there.
All right, Corey. Time's up.
This district will be awesome in a couple of years when you build your house.
All right, Jolene.
Jolene Degalow, 657 196th Avenue, Somerset. There are families in this district that are having a positive experience at Somerset School District. That is without a doubt. There are also families that are not having positive experiences due to a variety of reasons, and that is without a doubt. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. With enrollment numbers at a record low, it should be a great concern as to what can be done to help minimize the declining enrollment. Any business losing hundreds of thousands of dollars for losing customers would be in panic mode, working to pull off the Band-Aid and get to the root cause of these issues. When we lose students, we lose funding. How much is the district paying to DPI for open enrollment? $1 million? $1.5 million? Frustrated parents and taxpayers use public comment to speak about issues, including those that are driving away families. Your current policy regarding public comment is now being weaponized against opposing viewpoints to silent speakers who do not agree how issues are handled. Yet, if you provide praise to the district, you are giving free rein to be explicit with staff and board member names, make obscene comments, and ridicule other speakers with zero objection from the board. The First Amendment generally forbids the government to regulate speech in ways that favor some viewpoints or ideas at the expense of others. The Supreme Court has ruled that discrimination against speech because of its message is presumed to be unconstitutional. If the board allows for public comment, the rules regarding comment should be clear, reasonable, and viewpoint neutral. There is ample case law to support this. The current public comment policy includes no clear restriction on naming district staff within comments, nor does it include any reference to complaints not being allowed. Directing comment to the board president is mentioned, but is not the same by any reasonable standards and courts have agreed. Yet, members of this board have stated this is against policy and now are threatening to include a one-year ban on public comment if rules are violated. Rules are violated, non-existent rules, but only as they apply to negative or opposing viewpoints. There is a reason it is not explicitly stated in the policy, because it is unconstitutional, and Neola likely knows this. Recent federal rulings send a clear message that school boards cannot use vague policies to silence criticism or discussion or uncomfortable topics. Parents have a right to address their elected officials and express opinions about their children's education without fear of censorship or retaliation. Please use your power to engage parents and community members to create a seat for them at the table. This is how we solve problems, not censorship or banning.
Louis Jermaine.
Louis Jermaine, State Road 35, Somerset. On September 9th, the taxpayers set next year's budget at the annual meeting. Fund 80 was set at $55,000, but no additional funds. But for your approval tonight, it has Fund 80 at $140,000. So the question is why? Is it for the kids club? Is it for the kindergarten wrap? Don't they pay fees? Where's the money going? Is the annual meeting just for show and doesn't matter what the taxpayers say? Remember, this country is based off of freedom. Government works for the people. Yous have the job to work with both sides, the taxpayers and the school, to try to keep things fair, that students have the best education possible. So let's figure out why the students are leaving and figure out the money problems, because this path, it's not working that we're on.
Coulter White.
Coulter White, 10300 City Walk Drive, Woodbury, Minnesota. I am the 9th grade social studies teacher at SHS. I felt compelled to speak tonight after listening to my peers and coworkers deliver some incredible messages last meeting. I also want to give my own narrative on some of the rumors that have been floating around about my class, which were aired out to the community via social media rather than addressed with me personally. I have 2 main points tonight, and one of them is based on my observations from 2 weeks ago. My first point is to address how discouraging the level of disrespect from some board members was to my peers while they were speaking. One of the most basic lessons taught from the time students go to kindergarten all the way through high school is that when someone is speaking, you listen with your eyes and ears. As elementary as that sounds, it seems that some members of this phone would rather do anything, or some members of this board would rather do anything, including scrolling on their cell phone, than make eye contact with the teachers who they claim to represent while they are speaking at a public meeting. The message is constantly pushed that the board is open to staff sharing their concerns and that we should feel seen by the board. We would like all members of the board to make us feel that way, and thank you to those who already do. My second point is on the subject of teaching social studies and my philosophy behind what I do. I care enough not only about social studies, but social studies education that I have dedicated my life to it. I'm a teacher because I believe in the truth, a term that gets thrown around a lot today. Students deserve to know the truth about the country they live in, no matter what that truth is. Consider you are getting a new roommate. This is a person you will interact with and spend immense amounts of time with, not to mention sharing a living space. Of course, you would want to know about all of the redeeming qualities that this roommate has, but it would also probably be equally as important to recognize their shortcomings and how they attempt to address them, as this is someone you will see every day. I apply the same logic to my classroom and to the United States, which we all live in and interact with every day. I repeatedly tell my students that the United States is the best place to live in the world, and they can vouch for that. In my room, we celebrate the incredible inventions that have changed all our lives. We celebrate the defeat of the evils of fascism and bigotry during World War II. We celebrate the founding principles of this country, that we are all created equal and we all deserve the inalienable rights granted by our Constitution. We also identify shortcomings in respecting these rights and the rights of those around the world. We recognize the United States for its despicable genocide against the Native American people. We recognize the United States and its government's role in the gross wealth inequality of the Gilded Age, where billionaires existed at the same time many Americans worked for 10 cents an hour. And then, we recognize and celebrate the way that the United States has addressed or looked to rectify these injustices. Students in my classroom and classrooms all across the nation are taught to think critically about our mistakes as a nation and also recognize that we have come so far since the dark days of Jim Crow segregation and 80-hour work weeks. The bottom line is that I am not here to indoctrinate your children. The Political Compass survey that has come under scrutiny was an optional survey for students to privately explore their own personal beliefs and was presented as such. I do not want to teach your children what their values should be. However, prejudice, violence, communism, and fascism are always denounced in class as evil, because they are, and these statements can be supported by fact. My plea to you, the board, and the community is to trust teachers. Trust them the same way you trust a professional mechanic to fix your car, or a professional plumber to fix your pipes. We take very seriously the responsibility to care for and educate your children each day, and if trusted to do so, we will not let you down. Thank you.
Lisa Hageman.
I'm Lisa Hagman. I live at 578 232nd Avenue in Somerset. I'm here to just talk about the public comment policy, which I'm glad isn't being enacted. I think public comment is an important format for parents, taxpayers, and teachers to be able to express their concerns to the board. I feel it's important because I like to hear the opinions and concerns of other parents. It helps me stay informed on issues I might not know that happen at our schools. I value the freedom of speech, and I think it's necessary to have and to hear both sides of any argument. I think it's important to have positive and negative comments at the school board meetings from parents. I don't think censoring school board members or parents is right. People should not be silenced. If it wasn't for certain board members also, we wouldn't have a full-time RSO at the schools, which I strongly support, and I'm glad that that passed. Thank you.
Melanie?
That was fast. My name is Melanie Richard. I live at 2103 80th Street here in Somerset. I'm a former parent of a student here. I'm family number 5 in Allison Carrico's little presentation she made earlier, her public topic. Anyways, I just want to say that the reason why we left was during COVID, there was under this guise of public safety that we could treat kids however we wanted. And I'm saying as teachers, so I don't trust all teachers. I don't agree with that because of how my child was treated. So my child's not a bad kid. Are there a few people that may think that, oh God, I hate her parents, but I'm gonna treat that kid bad? Yeah, I do actually believe that. And so we pulled her 8th grade year, after her 8th grade year, to start in Hudson on her freshman year, because I didn't want to see her not getting up for school anymore, to feel depressed, to not want to go there and be ridiculed. Even one time I did go to the teacher, I did go to the counselor, I did go to the principal, and I did go to the superintendent, all to not be heard. And oh, I'm sure they didn't say that. Oh, I'm sure they didn't mean that. I'm sure they did not do that to your kid. But like, Matt, I don't believe that my child's a liar either. And so when we took her out and we brought her to Hudson her freshman year, I looked at her grades from her 8th grade year until her freshman year, and you would think that a child going into a brand new school, brand new high school, would not be doing very well. She excelled. Her English grade was an A. Her world history, World War II grade was an A. Straight A's in Spanish. So I've also been told by community members, well, maybe she wasn't that bright. Maybe she's a bad kid. I don't believe that for a minute. She's graduating early. She's got a scholarship for $52,000 to a state college outside of Wisconsin. So I don't think that when parents are coming to the board with their concerns that it's not productive or it's not helpful, I think to call a mother or a student a liar is awful. Because we do see our children, we do know our children. So to shut that down, no one's ever gonna come to you, ever. If they're not being heard, they're never gonna tell you what their concerns are. They're just gonna leave. And I'll say not one person cared that we left. And I hope more people leave too, because they'll look at you, Corey, they'll look at other people that speak all the time, and you're just getting, they're happy. You're gone, you're the squeaky wheel, get out of here. So I will say I'm happy that she left. As far as bias, is there bias? Yeah, I think there is, and we talked about that at our listening session. If you don't like what somebody is saying, you have to either shut it down both sides 30 seconds.
Or just allow it to happen. And then I am very happy though that the teacher did speak up. I think that took a lot of courage to do that, because you're kind of on the chopping block, in the public, forums and what people are saying. It does take courage to do that, but also I think a board member said that their kid leaned strong right with Nazi tendencies, is what the survey came out to say. And so is that true? That's the problem. Is that really true? Did that really happen or not? We need facts when we're saying things.
Okay, thanks, Melanie.
Michelle Lesha, 803 Rose Court. The sequence of this matters. I'm a parent of 2 graduated kids of Somerset School District, community member, taxpayer, voter, and recently classified as part of an in-crowd, protected sports class, and supporter of the liberal mob. I'm here to say that I'm 1,000% in support of the censure resolution. That's the best document I've read all year, hands down. I'm also in support of public comment amendment, and actually was going to suggest taking public comment out and tabling it, kind of like you did Title IX, so the board can focus on board things, because we're taking up a lot of time, your time, teachers' times, taxpayers' times, voters' times, just to come up here and do the same thing over and over again. So as a continued effort to not feed into the half-truths or lies on social media, the majority of us are going to remain silent and let the minority the minority have conversations amongst themselves because it will get old. So that's it.
Can I approach the board just to drop these off? These are on free speech. I ran out of ink on my printer, but this is a brief, and this is the complete free speech. Probably been ruled on by the court. I think it'd be interesting reading before any lawsuits possibly started. Dave Wolner, 494 Strive Village. So, this has been tough coming up before this board to talk with raising 5 kids through the school system and now having issues in our school system, which if they were around when I raised my kids in the school system, coaching the school system, I would have been very outspoken. Free speech is a mandatory thing. That's our constitutional rights. The biggest issue here in this whole thing is that one group wants to go after another group and they want to shut them down by speech. We have a constitutional amendment. Our Constitution is what no other country has. It is gifted to us. It has created an entity of God. Our Constitution gives us unalienated right from our Creator to give us rights that our government can't even take from us. I mean, I'm wondering what's going on. I want to know, what are these surveys? I mean, why are teachers surveying kids on issues? They have a classroom, they teach. I was a high school teacher in Minnesota and I taught construction trades. Well, I taught my trades. I didn't talk anything about to any of those kids. I taught my subject matter. That's the most important thing to our kids today. Teach them to read, teach them to write, teach them to critically think and be respectful. I'm not on Facebook, I know nothing. So I was hearing about all this chatter, and a good friend of mine showed me what's going on. So I contacted Mr. Degaloo and I asked him, I said, see, what's going on? He gave me a brief of it. So a quick Google search, just ruled in less than a year from the Supreme Court, you're gonna see Facebook's free speech. If it's not directed from the body of this board as being something, then it's by this board. Then you have to act by the rules of your board. But a man, a woman has a right to speak what they want. And to try to deny public comment, I mean, I appreciate you, Bruce, then shutting it down. But, I mean, public comment, Facebook, as long as you're speaking in the realm of respect to somebody, there's no wrong. In my opinion, probably a lot of people don't agree with me. But I'm telling you right now, this issue with the books, this issue with, I mean, do we have a Bible in school? Google the Pride Parade in San Francisco. Oral sex in the streets, nudity in the streets, peeing on each other in the streets. I mean, Google it. You find out. I mean, is this grooming our children to accept this way of life? It shouldn't be in a classroom. It shouldn't be in their education system. There should be, I don't, I mean, Mrs. Donnelly, can you tell me what the surveys are?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's enough.
Jeremy Lesha, 803 Rose Court, Somerset. 17-plus year resident here, settled down because of one person, the school district, and one of the main reasons was the location of reliable daycare from Four Seasons. I'd like to start with a couple quotes. You mean the special privileges you and your kids and the others in your admin special circle enjoy? You are part of the protected class as well as part of the toxic problem. These were directed towards me and my family. Not only have my wife and I been super supportive with the donation of time and or money of multiple events in our small but growing community, we have both volunteered our time with youth sports as well. I've been coaching youth sports for the better part of 10 years here, from t-ball, middle school basketball, football, 2 years of which was volunteer time. I was paid for 4, made a total of $6,000 for well over 1,000 hours of practice time, game time, setting fields up, locking stuff up when everybody was done, learning from varsity practices, all the other things. I clearly didn't do it for the money. I coached varsity girls basketball 3 years, varsity boys basketball 2 years. I've been announcing varsity sports, most of them, for the last 6 years. I've also taken the time to do some middle school football, JV and C-team football as well as basketball and youth wrestling. These things I do because I know the kids love it. I take my time and donate that to the kids. That sure sounds privileged to me. Now the part that really gets to me, the privilege that my kids enjoy, because I may be friends with multiple members of the district's administration. My daughter enjoyed many privileges while attending school here. She was privileged with being one of the hardest working student athletes to come through these doors. She was privileged with graduating in the top 10% of her class, all the while taking AP and CIS classes and transferring a semester's worth of credits to college. She has been privileged with playing sports since she was in kindergarten, playing 3 sports in high school every year on top of playing club softball, where she rarely missed a practice all year long unless she had a high school game, all the while taking those high-level classes and keeping her grades high as well. She did all this while navigating the brand new flex mod scheduling her freshman year. I'm not sure she even had time to eat. Her college orientation was fun too, because the first thing the chancellor said to the group of incoming students and their parents was, your child is going to have to learn a new way to figure out time management. It's no longer a 7-hour block school day. You don't get a set lunchtime. College prep at its finest. What else was she privileged with? National Honor Society member, WIA Student Athlete Award recipient. She was a letter winner in every sport every year, all 4 years except one, and she should have received that one too. Multiple all-conference awards, all voting by conference coaches, not ours. West Sports Triple Threat Athlete of the Week, given to only 20 multi-sport senior boys and 20 senior girls in the entire state, not by coaches or admin. WBCA State All-Star Basketball Player, again selected by the coach, not a Somerset one. She sure was privileged, and thank goodness she is protected. What she wrote was classless, tasteless, rude, insulting, demeaning, and downright defamatory. Then to include my kids in the conversation was totally uncalled for.
Travis Schachner.
Travis Shocker, 2116 54th Street. Due to some recent events with a neighbor of mine, decided that for the next at least for the next few weeks, I'm going to be a font of positivity. I'm really proud of the teachers stepping up and finally saying enough is enough to people. I am really proud of the students for showing more grace in class than I or the majority of the speakers over the last few months have said. I am grateful to be back in Somerset, because it's a community that's given me a lot, and the state has given me a lot. I want to thank all of you taxpayers in this district, by the way. Thanks to my veteran status, you guys paid for my doctorate. So if you are a veteran, take advantage of veteran education programs. They are great in this state compared to Minnesota. But when I was helping my neighbor, and I'm still helping him, we never talked politics or anything else. It was a man I've never met before, needed help in a moment, and I walked in and said I could help. And it has been a very hopeful moment for me, because it's reminded me why I love being in this community. We don't ask questions, we just help when you need help. I think we have forgotten a lot of that, and we need it to return. However, that being said, I love the discussion around the First Amendment, because the First Amendment does not prevent mockery, and I can promise that it will return. Thank you.
Gary Hanson, 1881 County Road C. I am a single bachelor, no kids, and I have run for the school board, so I had to get into depth into a lot of these type of issues with enrollment and some of these other things in order to be informed on what I was running for and what I was getting into. As far as the public comment, I appreciate the public comment at the beginning of the meetings. As far as limits on it, the courts have ruled that Facebook, Twitter, and some of the other ones, if they exert control over the content, then they are legally responsible. I would think the same would occur here for public comment, that as long as you don't exert control, you have no liability. Let the people assume their own risk. If they want to liable each other, don't get involved. As far as the type of public comment, limiting it only to the beginning of the meeting kind of divorces the context of the comment to as the meetings progress. I've seen a lot of web pages where the public comment is scrolling continuously on the screen, and that would be one way, if you do want to eliminate public comment at the meeting to preserve your time, allow the public comment to scroll on your page. That way people can go back and see what the people are reacting to. It would also allow you to go back yourselves and see how people are actually reacting and are providing you input. By it being limited to 3 minutes, it's really difficult to get into much trouble for the individual to be violating other people's rights. There was a point on some of the comments online where somebody was going after Steve for making a public comment on what is clearly his campaign website. Steve for the Somerset School Board trying to indicate that it wasn't,
James
that he was speaking for the school board rather than his candidate.
Good evening. My name is Staff Sergeant James A. Miller, retired, 2249 County Road C, Star Prairie. In 1998, I was picked to be a part of the Columbine Initiative to take on the active shooter role. I was the benchmark for the sniper and spotters that would be certified in northern Wisconsin, crossed Highway 8. I'm a little disgusted that an RSO has not been in this school for how long? We'll just leave that alone at this time. Secondly, I was St. Croix County's first foster home to take in an illegal immigrant child in need of protective services, being sex trafficked up to the border. But don't worry, it was taken care of. The victim was sent home. The perpetrators were allowed to continue farming on the local farms. The child came out of this school. Her initials are PG. I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset at the bullying going on in here. I'm a little upset at the attempt at censoring. I already see it being done by social media and authorized by the president, and offhanded backdoor actions through the telecommunication laws that they have the ability to do. This has been going on since the Arab uprising. This is all being manipulated against you and I. I'm really sick of seeing communities destroyed while I went overseas and did what needed to be done. I'm really sick of seeing children have to worry about active shooters. Sick of seeing teachers have to worry about it. We only got one RSO for the school. What's the average mean of every property tax on every property here? Between $2,000 and $3,000, if not more. $9? For fuck's sakes, and I'm sorry with my language.
All right, okay, thank you.
No.
Yep, all right. Stacy, you're up next. Thank you.
You guys got a world of hurt.
My name is Stacy Bewill. I live at 760 150th Avenue. I teach 7th, 9th, 8th grade social studies in ELA here at Somerset Middle School. I was going to start with really positive things. I just need to clarify a few things. A group of teachers asking for kindness, understanding, and civility does not make us a liberal mob. A group of teachers asking for kindness, understanding, and civility does not make us brown shirts or Nazis. A group of teachers asking for kindness, understanding, and civility does not make us leftist indoctrinators. And a group of teachers telling you that we trust and respect our administrators does not make us some part of an overarching secret plan. Additionally, every person that I have talked about at last meeting and this meeting, I have asked their permission to share their name. So, Devin McDermott, a 5th grade teacher at the middle school, took over last year as the dance head coach. She's been working with the middle school dance coach this fall, and together they have assembled an incredibly talented dance team of all ages. If you haven't watched them perform halftime at a football game, you're really missing out. Those girls are having so much fun and performing so well as a team. I went with some friends to watch them in person at the homecoming game, and so excited to talk to them about it at school on Monday. They were glowing when we talked about it and so proud of themselves for having the courage to get up in front of all of those people and perform. Kristen Flater has a talent like no one I've ever seen to get a middle school kid excited about writing. When we started our narrative writing unit in ELA, I had multiple kids who don't particularly like writing, being quiet, or sitting still, doing all 3 of those things during our foundations or study hall time, typing away at their narratives, so incredibly excited to get all of their thoughts on paper. Our fall sports seasons at the middle school just wrapped up. We have so many people who put so much time into the kids who participate, and it is so appreciated. Our middle school girls team had, 3 or 4 first place finishes this year. They had an incredible season. The kids love to come to school and share their successes, their improvements, and even their failures with us. The Durand football game is still a bit of a sore spot with the 8th grade boys. They were kind of mad about that one.
30 seconds.
I will end early because I'm just so, thank you.
All right, thank you for everybody who spoke. Next item.
Bruce.
Oh, Brandon.
It's fine, maybe I'll do so.
Yep, you're in.
It's not reddened in your face.
Go ahead.
Brandon Berry, 858 205th Avenue, Somerset, resident, coach, educator, father. Individual commitment to a group effort, that's what makes a team work. A company work, a society work, a civilization work. Vince Lombardi knew a few things about teamwork. He knew that if an organization is to succeed, it must work together toward a common goal with a positive culture. In our district, that includes the administration, educators, support staff, contracted employees, coaches, parents, community members, and the school board. When we boil our differences down to us versus them, or good versus evil, we get nowhere and do nothing positive for our district or community. We do not have to agree on everything, but it is our job as adults in this community to work together to make the district as strong as it can be. We have a duty to the 1,459 students to do better. Our students come to us every day to learn. Some come ready to learn, and some need help to get to the point where they are ready to learn. Regardless of how our students come to us, the 200+ employees in our district are there for them. We meet them where they are every single day, and we help them move forward emotionally and academically. Contrary to popular beliefs of a few community members, not one of our 200+ employees are here to indoctrinate our students into any sort of political belief. Our jobs are far too important and far too busy
to waste time on such things. Along with the academics we teach, we must help these wonderful kids become fantastic adults within 13 short years. That's an equally tough job, as I alluded to before, made even harder by the way some of our adults are acting. Students learn by example, and some in our community are setting a poor example. Do better. How do we do better? All of us must remember the principles that have shaped many of our students and teams over the last several decades. Selfless service, courage, loyalty, duty, integrity, honor, and respect. These words have flown above our district for several decades. We in this district live by them day in and day out. There are countless examples in that, and I hope to give you those examples next time I speak. But it's high time that we all live by these principles and work toward the common goal of educating and supporting every student in Somerset. Unfortunately, there are those that do not live by these principles. Over the last 2 years, individuals have worked against our school district, spreading falsehoods, denigrating our staff, calling out our students, and wasting district time and money. Word has gotten out that there are those in our community that are hostile towards our teachers, administrators, and students. This has and will continue to drive educators away from our district and will in turn drive families away. There are those that falsely claim our administrators push an agenda and are the root of what is wrong in our district. This could not be farther from the truth. Our administrators are wonderful leaders. They work tirelessly to lead and support us all. Without good leadership, our organization cannot effectively move forward and find success. We have good leadership. Spreading false rumors to contrary does not show a commitment to our common goals and culture. I implore those listening and those in our community to do better. Live by the principles of selfless service, courage, loyalty, duty, integrity, honor, and respect.
All right. Okay, all right, superintendent report.
I think it's listening session.
Listening session summary. So as Matt, started, we had some public comment, or some comments on the public comment. And what is, I guess, how we should interpret public comment, I guess. What's acceptable, not acceptably said at board meetings. We also had some people discuss curriculum and being a part of curriculum committees. Specifically, the one brought up was the Human Growth and Development Committee, and when that comes around again, how that gets out and gets people selected. So something to look into, I think, so that people can, if they want to be a part of it. Last year we had the meeting, we didn't have a ton of people in attendance, but to make sure if you are on that, you can attend the meeting and be a part of the curriculum selection. Danny and Matt, anything else?
More declining enrollments, discussion, birth rates.
Yeah, there's a question about what other districts around us are experiencing as far as enrollment trends. I know.
I'm giving an update next month, and that'll all be in there.
Okay.
Okay, those are good questions.
There was a question about what census data is saying, so it'd be nice if we had a tie to that as well. And then I think the last one I heard was just an overarching drive to find common ground as well.
Yeah,
I did hear that in the room. There was a lot that took place, but that was kind of the last thing, is that no matter what side you're on and what you've said in the past, there is an overarching theme to find common ground. So that's positive to hear. Hopefully we can get there. Anything else?
Okay, thank you. All right, now Shannon.
Yeah, hang on, I clicked my thing here. I don't have a lot, so just two quick updates. Referendum projects, elementary and stadium are wrapping up. Again, just a few little minor things there. If you haven't, well, all of you would have driven by the Performing Arts Center, but if you haven't, it is pretty incredible, the progress that's happened just in the last week. There are walls, you can see where the cutout is for the stage. It's pretty amazing, even just watching that whole process unfold. So if you're listening and you haven't had a chance to drive through campus and check it out, I really encourage you to do so, because it's pretty amazing how massive it is, and just watching that whole thing come together. So as a reminder, that will be done for the beginning of next school year. They're on track right now. They're working to get everything on the outside kind of wrapped up, so when winter hits, they can work on the inside, and we should be ready to go, which is exciting. The other thing I have, so about 2 weeks ago, our 23-24 state and school report cards were released. They are embargoed currently, so they will be made public typically mid-November, so normally the first meeting in December. Principals and directors will be back and we'll talk about kind of where we landed. Next meeting, principals and directors will be here to talk about state assessment, building goals, right? Like every year, lots of celebrations, but certainly areas that we're gonna dig into and wrap our arms around in terms of some areas of improvement, but that'll be coming next meeting too, so more to come. And I'll just mention enrollment really quick. So next meeting also, I'll have a fairly comprehensive presentation on enrollment, lots of factors, what's happening at the state level, what's happening, obviously area districts. You mentioned census, lots of things that I think will kind of help bring some of this together and talk about kind of where we are, and not sugarcoating anything, of course, but talk about some action steps that we're navigating here internally as well, that I think will just be some good discussion. So look for that next meeting.
Any other questions from anybody? Financial or enrollment reports?
Have we lost 10 students in the last?
So it's it's a little bit deceiving because some of those kids never actually came. So it's not uncommon at the beginning of the year that we get paperwork and then things happen. Families make a different choice, family circumstances. So it's not quite as black and white. Have some of those students started and have left? Yes. It's hard to get super deep into it because I don't want to obviously identify some things with families, but enrollment just in general is complex. The number that you see on the enrollment report is not necessarily the same number that DPI uses. Then there's also different formulas that DPI uses for different formulas or for different budget things, 3-year trends and those kinds of things. So I'll hopefully bring some clarity to that at the next meeting because it's not as simple as just the numbers that you see here. That's what we've been using over the last couple of years, so to be consistent, that's what we continue to use. You know, we just did our third Friday count. You know, we lost a big senior class last year. Our JK numbers, as you see there, are significantly lower than they traditionally have been, which in talking to other superintendents seems to be the trend. So we're having some good conversations, again, just regionally of what is everybody seeing in terms of, you mentioned birth rates. You know, those things are real. So are all the other things that people brought up in terms of families that have maybe been here and no longer here. But there's multiple facets to the enrollment story that I'll go over in much more detail next week. So,
is it possible to just email the board as vaguely as you need to, just for privacy or whatever, but just to let us know the reasons for the group deadline?
Potentially. Okay. I'd have to get real vague. Yep.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
So the current enrollment is 1,449, is that correct?
That's head count, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And that number will be different than third Friday count because for third Friday count, we have kids that are in the head count that we can't count for third Friday count. It's complicated. So like, for example, if we have seniors that are full-time college students, they're not actually being educated here, although they're enrolled here, and they will show up in this number, the 1449. We can't count them for head count, we count for pupil count. Some kids we can count in September that we can't count in January and vice versa. If we have an early childhood student, for example, that gets speech and language services and that's the only service that they get, we can count them here, but we can't count them for third Friday count. So it's a complex formula that this would be nice if it was just this simple, but it's not. So more to come.
Okay, next item was Neola technical corrections, just basically changing all policies that have Abby Wahada as the compliance officer, and I'll be changed to Jesse Thorson. Is that all we have to do for that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did have a question on the financial report coming back up.
Yes.
Sorry about that, but. So the Fund 80 was my impression that was $55,000 for the SRO. So why is it 140,000?
So we will get to that in the budget if that's all right. Because that's part of the budget item that we have.
Oh, that's
to
fine.
approve.
Just need an answer.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts on the Neola, item 6? Okay, item 7, meeting minutes. I guess we saw the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Is that kind of something that people were looking for? As, you know, we had one comment, I think, back on it. Any other thoughts from anybody else? Is that what we want to see going forward? People happy with that? Is there any other discussion? I don't know if we need action, if we're good with kind of how they were presented, and that's what we expect to see.
I appreciate it, yeah. I thought that extra bit of clarity helped. I guess my goal, like I stated before, is if somebody doesn't watch the video or have time to watch the video and they just want to scan the minutes, don't watch any video, it'd be nice to just have as much. And I saw quite a bit of improvement, so I'm happy with how we did that.
Any other comments?
Alicia, how was it for you? Is it doable? Yeah, all right.
Any other thoughts, Steve or Lori? Ian? Ian, anything from your end on the minutes?
No, I think it's good as we have now.
Be good. And just from previous experience, as long as, you know, board members, if we go in there and make sure you do look at them when they're presented to make sure that the things that you want in there are in there. And I think we said before, we reach out and make sure that it is included and it does read correctly, I guess, when we are adding more. So if we're good with them to continue like that, I'm kind of fine with it too. I like it. I think it looked great. I don't know if we need any action or anything on it. I think it's just.
No, I don't think so. I think if this is agreeable, we'll kind of do this for now and see if that's better. And I think, Alicia, you're now emailing them to everyone, right?
Once I get them done,
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good. Item 8. So we have the budget items. So we have to recommend the Fund 10 budget, Fund 10 levy, and the Fund 39 tax levy, and the Fund 80 tax levy. So, Dave, if you want to get started.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. So the attachment, which Alicia will bring up in a second, and it's on the agenda, is the culmination of our budget process. You'll see a comparison column with the preliminary budget from August, from the annual meeting time and budget hearing. There's not a lot of difference between these two. This is the updated expenditure and revenue information. On the top is the expenditure, and the bottom is revenue if you scroll down a little bit. And then the net and fund balance. This is our typical format year over year. And so the process is that you will adopt the budget and then certify the Fund 10 levy that supports this budget, and then set the Fund 39 and Fund 80 levies as well. The main differences here, we've updated some of the expenditures with the most recent known information, and the revenues are updated with the information that we received from DPI last week, and with the September count, which includes open enrollment numbers. So if you go to the second page, you can see the levy totals. This is taken from the revenue limit worksheet itself. This is a format we've used for a few years now. And at the bottom, you can see the last few years of equalized value, levy, mill rate, and mill rate broken down by the various levies. The Community Services Fund 80 levy is set at 140. This continues to be the direction that we've received from the board. The does include the SRO, and it does include middle school athletics and activities. So, any questions?
So the 140,000, it was 55. At what point in time did it go to 140, and you said that was for middle school athletics?
At the board meetings at which we have discussed budget, other than the budget hearing, it's been 140.
Right, but did we say that middle school athletics was gonna go in there? Because I don't recall that.
Yeah, we talked about that back in the spring. And
We talked about it, but I don't think, did we vote on that? I don't recall a vote.
We did not vote.
We voted for SRO going into Fund 80, but I don't remember the middle school athletics going into Fund 80 for that amount.
No, my recollection is we did not vote on it. We gave the administration direction though to include it. That was my interpretation of it. And ultimately, it would come down to a vote tonight, whether or not we want it. I mean, until this night happens, we directed them to include it in there as a way to fund the athletics.
I remember specifically it was SRO. We actually talked about not putting the middle school athletics in Fund 80.
And this is part of the reason why I asked for more detailed minutes, is because it's very hard to keep track of all this, and sometimes people think we've done things, and then we go back and we're like, well, where is it? And it's not there.
So, I guess an update in August, when Dave presented the update, when we gave the raises and added the third-year position, is when he also stated that this was our budget with the middle school athletics being included in Fund 80 at that point.
Yeah, I think we've seen it a few times in what I've presented, and it's also a reflection of your discussion and direction.
As we discussed the budget over the summer, I clearly remember the board giving direction to find whatever is legally permissible to go into Fund 80 to pursue that because of our budget shortfall. And no, there was not a vote, but it was the consensus of the board during more than one meeting.
We specifically addressed the SRO for Fund 80, but I do not recall the middle school athletics that we agreed that would go in there.
I think we were directed to do that with the SRO because of cutting that position out of the Fund 10 because it was a position, and then showing that we are now moving that to Fund 80. Like that was the question we received, right, Dave?
We had a phone call, as Lori said, at the behest of the board. You said kind of look at whatever avenue you can find to reduce expenditure in Fund 10. Having some programs be in Fund 80 instead of Fund 10 explicitly does that. And so we had a phone call with DPI about logistically, how do we approach this? How do we go from Fund 10 to Fund 80? Because we hadn't done that before. We hadn't levied in Fund 80 for any purpose. And so when we had that phone call with, at the time, the head of DPI Finance, he said, because you have a partial position SRO in Fund 10 and you want it to be in Fund 80, he said he would recommend not trying to split, not trying to do anything complicated, but rather be straightforward and say, we're not gonna have it in Fund 10 anymore, we're gonna have it in Fund 80. He didn't say the same thing about middle school athletics. He said that's pretty straightforward, many districts do that. So that's the information we provided you.
And again, it would also have to come here for approval at this meeting, right, to put it in the fund.
Yep.
So I guess I would, if anyone would like to make a motion for any of these items listed.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2024-25 Fund 10 budget for the amount of $20,689,356. Certify the Fund 10 levy in the amount of $7,164,736. And set the Fund 39 tax levy at $4,226,200. And the Fund 80 tax levy at $140,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, discussion, so Lori, anything you want to start with?
You know, at the annual meeting, we discussed this for quite some time. And I, clearly asked the question about, so are you saying that you don't want to fund middle school activities and athletics? And that was clearly the consensus of everyone at the annual meeting, that yes, they do indeed want to fund middle school athletics and activities. By putting it in Fund 80, it reduces our deficit spending.
That was not the consensus though.
It was the consensus that we fund middle school sports and activities.
That was a majority of.
Hold on.
And if you take a look at this budget, you can see that we, by putting middle school athletics and activities in Fund 80, we are still $158,281 over budget. We're in deficit spending. And that's not counting any additional staffing requirements that we have proposed.
I'm not against middle school athletics, but I do think we should have, we have dropping enrollment. I think we need to look at cuts to, and I know everybody hates it, but cuts to the budget first before we put things in Fund 80. And the majority of the people in this room did not want middle school athletics moved to Fund 80. That was the vote.
They wanted it funded.
Can I make a point here?
Ian, go ahead.
During the annual budget meeting, the consensus was to take the funding for the middle school athletics out of Fund 80 and increase the amount of levy for Fund 10, which, Dave, correct me, isn't possible. So they approved the increase in the levy, just not in 80 versus 10.
Exactly. You cannot increase Fund 10 levy. There's a state law.
So then it has to go back to the general budget, right? Well, that's Fund 10, right?
Yes.
So the Fund 10 levy is determined by the revenue limit calculation, so that is the maximum levy for Fund 10 that's possible this year, is what is on this document.
Matt?
Yeah, I want to bring that exact point up, that there was consensus, I thought, in the entire room to fund middle school athletics. People wanted it in Fund 10, but it's not possible to increase the levy amount in Fund 10. Therefore, the only option is to go to Fund 80. And I just want to clarify, as I look at the mill rates, so I see an increase in Fund 80, obviously it's been zero in the past, it's 140,000. But I'm seeing a net decrease in mill rate, is that correct? So 22-23, taxpayers paid $7.91 per $100,000 of value?
Per thousand. Per thousand.
Per thousand, sorry, per thousand. 23-24, they paid $7.21 per 1,000, and 24-25, they'll pay $6.70 per $1,000 value, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so a decrease in what we're gonna pay, but we're still being able to fund athletics through Fund 80.
It's a decrease in the mill rate.
In the mill rate, yes. That's correct?
It's a decrease in the mill rate, that's correct. That's the mathematical calculation.
That will.
Any other discussion? We will vote in a
I
second.
would be-
Motion in a second. Yes, Steve.
I would be all for approving the budget, but take the middle school athletics out and just keep it at where it was, $55K for the SRO.
So can I just clarify, if that were to happen, there would be no middle school athletics for this school year? Would they have to stop?
it's the determination of the board, I would assume that we would pay for that out of Fund 10 and be more deficit.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second on the table. Take a vote. I'll start. So, yes. Danny?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Ian?
Yeah.
Steve?
No.
Lori?
Yes.
Lacey?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. All right, thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, item 9, resolution censuring a board member. I'll start. I'd like to make a motion. So, I'd like to make a motion to move forward with censuring as presented with the removal of items 1B, C, D, E, F, H, and I, which would mean that we would keep items 1A, G1 and 2, J1 and 2, and items 2 and 3.
Bruce, can you please repeat that?
Yeah.
What we're gonna keep.
Yeah, so the ones we're gonna keep are 1A, 1G, 1 and 2, 1J, 1 and 2, and items 2 and 3. Take a moment and look at it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there a second if you want to look at it a little further? See a moment. Otherwise I can go through with something and then stuff. So I guess, so I received complaints, the board received complaints. Those complaints were addressed per policy. I reviewed with our district's attorney to verify if they were valid and what they violated in policy 0144.5. Upon the review, I asked our district, or the district's attorney, to help draft a document to outline which items in that policy were violated by the complaints issued. Once that document was written, I presented it to the board for review, and then to review at a closed session on October 7th. There was a response to the complaint by Steve. We received it, we had a closed session. Steve did not attend the closed session with the rest of the board. And Lacey did not attend either. Thank you for clarifying. After the meeting, I asked our attorney to draft the censure per the complaint that was originally written up. Since that time, I've reviewed the censure document sent to the board, and upon reviewing it and updates made to Mr. Bigelow's Facebook page, I have removed most of the items that pertain to Facebook posts, which is pretty much what a lot of those were. And would like to see an additional item kind of that matches Danny's on the top that wouldn't kind of move away as additional posts are given, just so it's very, very clear that these are board, these are not, this is a private page, not a school board page. And then just basically included the ones that violate board policy. So I guess that's what I have. Steve? You like?
Yes, I would. And I won't be interrupted. There was thousands of dollars spent on this to go to an attorney to get the complaint. It was all orchestrated. It culminated in the board meeting at the high school, a shaming session, okay, with my name brought up during the public comment. That's fine. And then 5 pages of a censure right here, costing taxpayers a lot of money. And why are we here? Because this survey was given to a student. It has to do with race, sex, religion, and abortion without the parents' consent, the parents' knowledge. This is retaliatory. That's why you took the steps of the censure. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. The instructions from the teacher was take this quiz to find out where you were at with your political beliefs. We have a policy in place, clear policy, that was violated. Why don't teachers, maybe most of them understand this, but maybe 1 or 2 do not? Why don't they understand that? Why is it okay? That's why we're here. This is retaliatory. Here's the other thing. I ran for the school board only months ago, okay? And here we are censuring me. You know why? Because I am a strong advocate for parental rights. For some reason, that's a trigger word. Parental rights is a trigger. It triggers teachers to think that I might be anti-teacher.
You're out of order.
Yep. Please.
She's making comments.
Please, just please listen. Everybody, please be quiet and do not add anything. We can proceed.
During that campaign, I brought up safety. I don't think anybody on this board that was sitting at the time was too pleased with the fact that I brought up the fact that parents in this district didn't even know that we got rid of our full-time SRO. Eliminated. My daughter was going to school. I assumed that we had a full-time police officer on campus, but that was hid from we, the parents, all right? I also campaigned on academic excellence. You would think that's a good thing, but I just got pushback from the board because I felt that the board generally sits on their hands and they're complacent about the direction of where we're going with the school district. Parents' concerns regarding books in the library, bullying, things like this are not addressed. So that's why I ran to the board, okay? So I'm sorry I'm outspoken, and that's the reason we're here tonight, okay? This is all part of censoring somebody. You don't like what they say, especially if they're on the conservative side, point of view, then let's censor them, okay? That's the first thing they do to get us to communism, all right? So, I received a very cool reception, and there weren't too many of you that wanted to work with me. As a matter of fact, I remember one of you saying, when I met with you personally, our kids just deserve a public education, nothing else.
Well, I don't believe in that, because I had a public education, it was outstanding. We had a lot of different programs, a lot of different options, mentoring opportunities for our kids. The problem is, if you don't mind, since you spent all this money on an attorney, I'm gonna draw a little graph here. A table, to some degree, but also a graph. So, back in the year 2010, okay, that was before the bridge was put in, our enrollment was at 1653, all right? Let's go 5 years ahead, 2015. Our enrollment was 1585, so it dropped a little bit. 2020. We're at 1509. So in 4 years, we went down to where are we at now? 1449. If we're a business, but we're not, right? We're a public school. But you have to understand that we have competition now. The school district has competition. Private schools, homeschool, other schools in St. Croix County. I've heard from parents, they didn't want to leave. I certainly didn't want my kid to leave the school, all right? She spent her first 3 years here. I moved from Minnesota to get out of the woke state of Minnesota.
Steve, I just want to make sure that this is.
Listen to me.
We're
No, you're
responding
not.
to the censure
You
documents.
are. I am.
No, you are.
Yes,
that is-
I am.
There's nothing about your daughter in the censure documents. So,
Stop.
I'm
I
just
am gonna
telling you
speak.
that, no.
This
you
is
are
what
not-
you do. You censor. You censor. This
If
is
you
what
are not
do.
addressing the complaints,
I am
calling a
addressing
point
the
of order,
complaints
Steve.
because it's all related, okay? All right. I came over here thinking that the school would reflect the values of the area. All right. Why do you think I got elected? Why do you think I got elected and I was in first place? 2.5 years here. Because I spoke about parental rights. I spoke about safety. I took you guys to task because you didn't have an SRO that was full-time, all right? Push, push, push. And when I
Again,
pushed, guess what? We
Steve,
got, no,
so
I'm talking.
I would ask if
I am
anybody else would
talking.
also consider a point of order for this right now.
Yeah, that's convenient for you.
I am-
So, an
any other board
SRO,
member?
we finally got one because I pushed you guys.
Does
I'm
anybody
sorry.
else?
Yeah, there is a
Anybody else
lot.
second a point of order?
I'll second.
Okay, that's convenient.
Steve, I have no problem listening to you in response to the censure items that are on this agenda. That's where I'd like to keep the focus.
All right, so
Please.
here's the hierarchy that you would typically have, right? When it comes to our children and parents, teachers, board members, superintendent, here's how the hierarchy goes. God gave us our children. They're the greatest gift that we have. They are given to us as parents. It's our job to give them, instill in them their values, okay? Their religion, not the school. The school is to focus on academics, all right? So what would happen if that was flipped upside down? Is this where we're at? So hierarchy would mean God.
Steve, all right, okay.
Hierarchy,
All
God,
right,
listen
thank
to
you,
me.
Steve, you haven't addressed the censure items. You are
I-
talking about something else, so
Give me
this is what
30
I said.
seconds and I will address those
Please,
particular items.
please do not, there's no hierarchy listed in your censure item. So if you have a conclusion, I would love to hear it. But
Yeah, okay, then you will, okay.
So please don't go off topic again. So why
God
don't
is
you
at
skip
the
this
top.
part that you're talking about?
They are the gift of.
Okay, all right, so that's it, you're done, move on to the next person. Does another board member like to speak?
Keep this in mind, what
Yeah, I'd
happened
like to
here
speak.
was censure.
I'd like to speak. So when I first met Steve, I thought he'd be a great addition to this board. I did. I believe and am aligned with his beliefs and his position on about every topic he brings to the board. But I completely disagree with his delivery. When I first met with Steve, I cautioned him and just suggested maybe some education on Robert's Rules of Order, how a board functions. When I got on this board, I clashed with people. There's people in this room that are former members and we clashed. But I always tried to make a point to better myself and learn. And I would encourage Steve to do the same. I think he's a valuable individual on this board. I think he challenges, like he just said, he pushes. He truly wants what's best. He is not here because he is trying to cause problems. But we need the delivery to be aligned with us as a board, because we have spent months making zero progress. I don't know how many more meetings I can do with closed sessions about complaints and public comment that runs for 2 hours. I appreciate all of that, but I don't want to do it. I don't think Steve wants to either. And I would extend a hand to you, Steve, because I want you on this board. I want you to be part of this. I think the lines get blurred with Facebook, and I think just taking over the meeting and talking over is not helpful. Therefore, I am in support of this to say that I don't stand with him in his delivery, but it doesn't mean I don't want him here, and it doesn't mean I don't listen to everything he says. When it comes to Facebook,
Any other board members? Ian or Danny?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna wait my turn.
Ian, go ahead.
I would just address this. It's not orchestrated, everything in that complaint before we removed everything happened. The things that remain are serious. The board's not gonna function if we can't maintain decorum and order in a boardroom. We're not gonna get anywhere if we're all combative constantly. We need to treat each other with respect. That hasn't happened. Yeah, I guess that's what I have to add. I don't know how we get anything done. Steve wants to get things done, I believe that, but how are you going to do that if you alienate the entire board? All of us as individuals have zero authority. It's only a majority of the board that can do anything. So nobody's gonna do anything on their own on this board and take, victory laps on it.
Thanks, Ian. Lacey or Lori or Danny?
I'm just sad we're at this point. I'm really disappointed. This was not what I was looking for as an experience on the board. I was hoping we could all work together. We can still be bold and strong and have our values and our beliefs, but we can still work within policy and within procedures and follow a process. I do believe in that. I'm really hoping that we can set this behind us and we can move forward as a team and work together, because I know we can do that. I have faith, I believe in this community and in these teachers and in us as board members.
Lori?
Well, we spent quite a lot of time talking about professional development for the board. And I think that if we had participated in some of that, we may have been able to avoid reaching this point. The Wisconsin Association of School Boards is having their annual conference in January. And if the board does not want to engage in professional development separately, that may be an opportunity that we could gain some professional development by attending that conference. There are some school districts that the entire board attends the conference together. Right now, I think I'm the only board member who's ever been there. CISA can provide training as well. There was an event at CISA this fall that a person came and provided professional development. We could have attended that and avoided a great cost to the district. There are opportunities out there that are affordable.
I will echo that.
Steve, I'm guessing you have something to close. If you can keep it for this topic, I'm happy to listen.
You giving me time now to say something?
If you can keep it on topic, yes.
I will. I will just say it because Ian said we haven't gotten anything done. I would disagree with that. We got the full-time police officer back on campus, which protects the staff, protects the students. That's because I pushed, okay? We were able to eliminate the mask policy. I brought that up. I'm sure most of us forgot about that, but we got that gone. It's gone. The Title IX rewrite, Matt, thank you for tabling that, or so that wasn't, that didn't come up. I don't agree with board development, but I will say here, regarding teachers, why there's this thinking that I am anti-teacher is far beyond me. I was all in favor of teacher raises. I made a motion to hire the third grade teacher. So I do want to address quickly the censure. So the United States Supreme Court, this is why I say I have a problem with Travis, because he led us astray down the wrong path when it came to Title IX, ignored Moms for Liberty's injunction, which protects the kids here because there are parents that are in the district. So Supreme Court of the United States in March of 2024 ruled regarding Facebook. I don't know why anybody's so worried about my Facebook page, but apparently it's gotta check things out, I guess. It says here that's my personal space. I can block anybody I want to if I want to. I don't block everybody. So that takes care of most of the censure. But like I say, this is retaliatory. It's based on the fact that I was trying to support a student who received a survey that went against our policy. That's the reason this is happening. I'm sorry, I asked questions of the superintendent. I was out of line. I asked too many questions. I put somebody on the spot, okay? The rest of this is pure garbage. It's subjective. You know, we're talking about very subjective things here. We're talking about Facebook, okay. So I said something about whistleblower. Yeah. Let's say the whistleblower comes forward and it has to do with the superintendent. Yeah, they could go to a board member, right?
Yes, per policy.
Okay, well, very good. So, I think this is garbage. I know how you're gonna vote, that's fine. I'm still gonna be fighting for parents. I'm gonna fight for academic excellence and safety, both psychologically and physically. So, that's fine. I don't get a lot of thanks on this board. I don't see that anybody really wants to work with me. That's fine. You know, I heard that it had to do with my campaign, that I was very direct. I guess I may irritate a few people. The president of the board didn't want to meet with me because they wanted to have somebody there with them. They're fearful of their safety, and the same for the superintendent, which is ridiculous. So go ahead, I am finished. Thank you.
All right, call for a vote. I'll start. Yes, Danny.
Abstain.
Matt.
Yes.
Ian.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Lacey.
Yes.
5-0 with one.
May I
Abstain.
ask, there are legal, requirements to abstain, I believe. There has to be monetary gain.
I don't know.
Not according to Robert's rules.
Okay, all right. 5-0 with one abstain. To formally censure. All right, moving on. Item 10, items for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve items, item 12, A1, B1, and C1 as presented.
Is there a second?
I think you missed one.
Well, we're working on it, it'd be items for approval, is moved in front of.
Not the consent, yeah, items for approval.
We only have three.
Okay, sorry.
A1, B1,
So,
second for
all
that.
right.
I second that.
All right, any discussion?
Is this, I'm sorry, the consent agenda?
No, this is items for
Items
approval.
for
Recommend
approval.
ski club, recommend adding.
Oh, yeah, I
full-time.
have something.
I asked to have it switched because if we're going to approve the personnel update, the point 2 of the speech and language is in there, so I thought we should approve the memo for the increase before we approve the position for point 2.
So is this up for discussion?
Yes, yep,
Okay, but I'm just clarifying, the health aid is wrapped up in there, so we can
Yes.
talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
yep.
All right, so I did do some research on this. I reached out to board members in the following districts about this. Reached out to Hudson, Glenwood City, Spring Valley, Baldwin, Osceola, so I have some information to present on that. Hudson has 1 full-time nurse, 1 part-time nurse, and health assistants in every building with 8 buildings total, and an enrollment of around 5,400, which averages out to 1 health staff per 537 students. Glenwood City has 1 full-time health professional for 624 students. Spring Valley has 740 students with 1 full-time health professional and 1 part-time. Baldwin has 3 health staff, 1 in each building with an average of 583 per position. Osceola has 1,500 students with 1 full-time health professional, but nurse stations in all 3 buildings with office staff helping with basic needs.
What school is that, this one?
Osceola. Just thought I'd throw that out there for information.
So we have 1 full-time and then now this, we have 2 full-time.
We have 2 full-times right now, is that right? We're asking for a 3rd?
We have a full-time nurse and 1 full-time aide.
Okay.
So this would be a 3rd.
This would be
Then there's 1 in each building.
This is an aide, not a full-time
Correct.
nurse.
And the ratio is currently 1 to 877 students? Or is that what it will be?
That's what it is currently, with 1 person going between 2 buildings.
And it sounded like average was 1 to 500 to 600?
Yeah, right around between 5 and 6. Not Osceola though, they're pretty
1 to 1,500?
slim up there.
And full-time, that includes full-time for the school year, not full-time year-round.
Correct.
Correct.
This position is, yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's not even school year because it's only on these students are going to be.
Right.
Any other discussion?
I think with our budget as tight as it is, I just don't know if I would support of adding this position.
One more thing, just to back up to the data that you presented. I think part of it is ratios, of course, but this has come to light specifically due to some of the specific health issues and concerns that we currently have. I can't obviously speak to those districts, but that was one of the biggest factors as to kind of why we are where we are right now, not only for students, but for staff as well. But
So the motion is second, is there any other discussion?
I didn't know that we had received one email from a parent just saying, like, it's already become an issue this year, that there wasn't a health aide or a nurse to be of assistance to a student that needed it other times, and I would, I know I've heard this in the past before, because it's so really the elementary is the only school with a full-time aide that's there.
Correct.
Otherwise, the full-time nurse is housed in the,
She's housed in the high school, but goes back and forth between the two buildings.
okay, so she shares the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming or guessing that as far as if there's a diabetic, if there's, you know, other health concerns, those types of things, that's not just, oh, I need a Band-Aid.
Right.
Or feeding tubes, anything like that, that could be a issue. So in your opinion, this is a needed position, obviously, if you're putting it in.
Yeah, I would say if it's gotten to the point where I'm bringing this forward, knowing our budget, exactly what you're bringing up, that this is, I have health concerns for our students that aren't being met because of, we need another person.
Is there any way to cross-train? Is anybody interested in, I mean, the secretaries that we have, is there a way to bump up pay for the responsibility of helping with basic?
So I would say by the nature of how some of this works now, they have to do some of the basic stuff. I would say this is kind of the next level. And the way an office works, it's highly unpredictable of, you know, it could be 1 kid, 0 kids, 10 kids.
All right, so a motion and a second. I guess all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item, consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel update as presented, the athletics activities personnel update as presented, the minutes of the September 23rd meeting, minutes of the October 7th meeting, and the board bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on, general information, our next meeting will be November 4th, work session. Then we'll have the regular meeting on November 18th with a listening session 30 minutes prior. District celebrations, I'll start with Matt.
I would say thanks to all the staff and coaches that helped with fall sports. All right, now it's a big commitment, so thanks to all of them, and look forward to the next round of water sports.
Ian, any district celebration?
I got nothing.
Steve?
Yeah, so, I don't know if it's celebration, but I proposed a business citizens advisory committee. I wanted to be part of that committee. I contacted various businesses in town who were on board with that. It was to come up with innovative ideas for curriculum. It was for also internships. It would have involved different businesses in Somerset. But because of the censure, I can't be part of any committees, so that's the district celebration for tonight. Good morning.
I'd like to congratulate, we had a couple students who made it to the state honors choirs. Over 3,500 students applied to the honors choir, and we had 2 of our students make it, one a high school student and one a middle school student. So congratulations to them. Thank you.
Just to shout out with our Spartan spotlight tonight, Mr. Hearing, and all of the students that were mentioned, thank you for that time. And also for a successful round of conferences with both elementary, middle school, and high school teachers. Long nights, good information, and it's nice to connect.
I'll let go of all that, and then conferences, and even there were a few teachers that couldn't attend, and they had alternate signups, which I greatly appreciated. Parents who want to be with other teachers couldn't make it that night, so thanks for that. And then also, again, thanks for the people who come to the listening session. I mean, it's much better than sharing a bunch of emails back and forth. It's a lot easier and quicker to get things taken care of. Coming to the listening sessions, and we'll keep posting names of people who are going to be there, so everyone knows ahead of time. That's what I got.
Thanks to Mr. Herrick and the students, it's been fun to watch the baseball dugouts and the soccer benches and all that work. I get to be one of those lucky community members that is gonna have a project worked on soon by these preschoolers, so I'm pretty excited about that.
All right, okay, thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985-1F to consider the investigation of charges against specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have substantial adverse effect on the reputation of any person involved in the investigation. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn into closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Lori,
Yes.
Lacey,
Yes.
myself, yes. Danny,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session, 7:56. Alicia, if you can keep the computer there so Ian stays connected.